Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Boring Enterprise Nerdcast, where we tell you all about crazy cool stuff that's going on in SAP, in other stuff, in having fun, and kind of getting into the edutainment realm of enterprise technology. Usually, we have the esteemed Yelena Perfilyeva with us. Today, she is out making the world a better place at an ASUG meeting in the Carolinas. So good luck to her with that. But we will carry on nevertheless with our esteemed guest, Nestor Lara. Nestor, welcome. Please give us an introduction for yourself and what you're doing, what you're up to these days, and what we're going to talk about.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. Again, I'm Nestor Lara. I'm the co-founder, CEO of Nuve Platform.
By the
We,
way, by the way, I just asked you Lara or Lara, and then I said it the other way around. I got all in my head.
no,
Sorry
no
about
worries,
that.
no worries. But yeah, been an SAP developer for over 12 years and started as a developer, then transitioned to Basis. And at
That's
Nuve,
right.
we help developers automate their SAP infrastructure and companies so that they don't have to worry about all of the nitty-gritty details that typically come about with SAP systems that everyone knows Basis is a black art.
I can actually imagine that going from dev to basis would be kind of the perfect way to get your eyeballs on the realm of nightmares that it is to manage SAP systems. So I like that perspective that you have there on those things.
Yeah, definitely. I have a lot more respect for the Basis profession now that I actually do Basis, whereas before it was easy to just complain, why does this take so long?
It's true. It is.
Yeah.
Any basis listeners, I want to just apologize because I certainly had the like grumble, grumble, grumble whenever I would do stuff, and then I got the chance to sit by somebody for a day or two as we were going deep on something, and I saw what he had to do as he was helping me do other stuff. He was like. This was back in the day when nobody had two monitors. He just had the one monitor. And so we're talking about like what we're doing. And like as we were talking about the thing that I was trying to do, he's like alt tabbing over to other stuff and just fixing like 12 other people's like requests as he's talking to me. And from that moment on, I was like, okay, mad respect to you guys, mad respect. I
Yeah,
had no idea the nightmare that they lived with that stuff.
definitely.
Yeah. So this is a special edition of the Boring Enterprise Nerdcast where we actually are going to dive deep into Nestor's product, the Nuve platform. Now, I want to set the table for our watchers and listeners. There's actually kind of two things going on here. There's the piece that I personally have used and love with Nuve platform, which is kind of getting yourself a fast, reliable, uh, quick and easy to set up development experimental platform sandbox environment to do things. But there is an additional piece that Nestor and Nuve have really been working through that really targets like enterprise platform engineering and the broader story about smart system usage and smart DevOps in the SAP world. So Nestor's going to take us through both of those things, but there's really kind of at least two layers to this cake of that stuff. So Nestor, please take us away. Show us what you got. I'm pumped to see it.
Yeah, definitely. We can get started. Oh, host disabled participant
Oh,
screen
why do I
share.
always do that to people? Oh, jeez. Uh, okay, you should have it now.
Great. All right, we can get started.
So this is the command center. Start talking us through this. This is good stuff.
Yeah, so this is the command center for Nuve platform. When you log in, the first thing it takes you to is instances. And this view that we're looking at is really focused on developers, right? Allowing them to kind of create these ephemeral instances so that they can do their development, maybe break a few things, and then throw that system away if it doesn't work, or if it does work, we recommend using ABAP Git to commit that code, just how every other developer
Yeah.
outside of the SAP world operates.
Mm.
And so creating an instance is really easy. So here, for example, I can
And I
simply
mean, this
select.
is a full-blown SAP instance, right? This is SAP S/4HANA. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. So we have the ability to create any, on-prem system, even though this is cloud hosted, and leveraging our automation, we can create them in a matter of minutes, which is unheard of. It makes it look like it's, like that basis task that we were talking about is easy. It
Yeah.
is not easy. There is a ton that is happening behind the scenes. There's a lot of tools that kind of help automate infrastructure, but they fall short when it comes to SAP, just because
Yeah. Yeah.
there's a very unique set of
SAP
things that
is
need to happen.
it's definitely its own beast in the world of DevOps, that's for sure.
Yep, exactly.
And this is what I love about this, because like when I first tried this, this was amazing that I was thinking of just like I had this mental image of like summoning a demon from like the depths below, of like this is literally just making me an S4 system in the cloud that I can go get.
Exactly. And so one of the things that, we definitely recommend is, if you're interested in this type of stuff, especially with, the ABAP platform being available on Docker, like by all means, go ahead and try that out on your own computer. We think it's valuable to
Yeah.
understand those basic concepts. With that said, there's a high learning curve, right? And there's also high requirements on the system itself to be
Yeah.
able to run the SAP system, and
Mhm.
not everyone can do that. So again, our goal is really just to simplify that SAP infrastructure for companies and developers with automation.
Can you maybe while this is creating, can you show us the options that people have for the various instances that they could pull up?
Absolutely. And one thing while this is creating as well, I kind of want to mention again, because it happens so quickly, is, there's everything that is going on in the background. Normally a person would have to do this, right? So if your laptop won't support an S4 HANA system, or even the ABAP platform system, you'd have to
Hmm.
create a cloud hosted virtual machine.
Hmm.
There's a lot of dependencies that are required for SAP to run. You'd have to install all of those. You'd have to configure, the network, DNS,
Yeah.
install the act, or pull the Docker image, or install the system, depending on which route you're taking, and install licenses if you need to, and just do additional configuration of either Fiori, or installing basic tools like ABAP Git.
Mm.
But to your point about what options are available right now, because it's still creating the instance, if we click on the actions menu, the only option is schedule. But even this is very powerful, because within SAP, we're very used to systems running forever. And that shouldn't be the case. You should be able
Yeah.
to, for example, schedule your system to start at, if you're an early bird, let's call it 6 in the morning, and then you're done at 5 p.m. and you want that system to be on Monday through Friday. So we make it really simple to configure this. Or if you wanted
Nice.
to delete the system, let's say I want this only for 1 month, I can schedule that, save it, and it'll give you information about when it's going to get paused, when it's going to
Oh,
get
nice.
deleted, things like that, as well as email alerts, because sometimes you forget things, so you can
That's true.
obviously come in and modify that.
It is true. I mean, that has been handy for me because I have the like I'm sort of tackling, I'm like, I have like a thing that I want to figure out. So I'm like, oh, I need to get a system. So I spin it up and I go figure the thing out. And then I kind of forget the management stuff. And I'm like, okay, I got it. And then I move on to what I'm trying to do. Right.
Yeah.
This is very helpful for that, I think.
Yeah, and that's a great point, right? As developers, we are focused on developing. A lot of
Yeah.
times we ignore
Yeah.
everything else. And
Yeah.
so it's kind of a bit of a check, some guardrails, I guess, so to speak,
Yeah.
to make
Yeah.
sure that you don't run up your cost. And then in addition, speaking of cost, one of the things that you can do is you can easily manage your billing. This might seem like a high number, but if you look at the number of instances that we've
Yeah,
created and the number of backups that we have, it's actually fairly low.
that's super
Um,
low for what it is.
yeah, exactly. You can track your events. I mentioned that we have multiple SAP systems available that we can create. ERP 6.0 has for different versions, different flavors of HANA
Yep,
in different
yep.
regions, depending on, if you're concerned about latency and things like that. And then, of course, some admin tools.
So when you say regions, is that mapping to a particular hyperscaler platform?
We are hyperscaler agnostic.
Okay,
So yes, it can work on any of them, any of the major ones, Google, AWS, Azure, and you can select whatever region you want.
okay,
Typically,
cool.
we have two go-tos in Europe and in the US.
Mm,
And so then what this kind of allowed us to do is we started learning that even though SAP is unique in a lot of ways, it is based on rules. And with
yeah.
those rules, it allows us to kind of start moving towards more enterprise platform engineering, where a lot of routine tasks can be automated, whether that's in your central SAP landscape or with more temporary systems for development like the one we're creating right now.
Maybe, and this is getting spun up here pretty quickly. You take us on a quick spin through the support center that you guys have.
Yeah, definitely. So there's a lot of new, concepts with this approach that we're taking. So we have this great support center that has a lot of useful tools and resources to, for example, if I go into the solution guide, we can set up a GitHub runner. And so a lot of, especially with, the rise of popularity of BTP, a lot of folks
Mm,
are starting to do CI/CD, and
yep.
that is also possible for on-prem systems. You can, in fact, have workflows where you can automatically run your static analysis on your code. You
Yeah.
can execute unit tests. You can enforce peer reviews so that
Mm,
you're, as a company, reaching a higher quality of code
yeah.
that we really need.
Yeah. That's for sure. That's for sure. One of the things I like, I like I haven't even tried the ABAP unit stuff yet in GitHub Actions with my things. But one of the things I like about the support platform itself is that kind of early on I was setting up my stuff in here, and I had a question for you, and I just emailed you directly. And if I remember correctly, you just gave me a link to the page that solved the issue I was asking you about because you'd seen it before, like you knew what was going on there. So I was very impressed by that. Like just yeah, we've seen it. Here it is. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, glad to hear that. And I think that gets back to that platform engineering approach that we take with
Yeah.
Nuve, right? Because yes, there are unique problems that people encounter, but overall, if you're running SAP, there's a lot of overlap, and so you can in fact solve them once and then apply them to everyone. One cool example that I like to give is recently the GitHub certificates were renewed, and so everyone who runs ABAP Git was running into problems because
Oh yeah.
those certificates expired.
Hmm.
With our automation, we can click one button and update everyone's certificates so that they don't. Some of them probably never even
Uh,
realized that there was a problem.
nice, nice. That's amazing. What a missing thing from the world before, frankly. That's awesome.
Yeah, and I think again that going back to the basis function, it is very difficult, but a lot of things are very repetitive. So
Mm,
we should
mm,
automate them, right? In this
yeah,
day and age when
yeah.
we have AI writing books, creating video, we shouldn't have to really do anything manually. Anything that is repetitive shouldn't be done manually.
Yeah.
So
Um, oh, look at that. It's ready.
yes, it is ready.
Awesome.
So now I can just click on the connect button and download the SAP GUI shortcut file. Oh, I shouldn't
Nice.
have shared that. I'll just say, uh, yes, it's ready now. So I can simply download the SAP GUI file and log into that instance, or I can connect using the IP address or the friendly application server that we created. And it's a full functioning instance with data.
That's so cool. That's so cool. How and I'm sure you can probably show off some of the internal bits of that too. How are people using Nuve these days?
Yeah, there's a lot of different use cases, but the ones that we find most interesting are the folks that are doing actually implemented CI/CD pipelines. And
Mm,
so what that enables them to do is kind of like we talked about, whenever they have distributed development, whenever they create a pull request using ABAP in GitHub, and that pull request is triggering GitHub actions, it'll actually start an instance like we just did, but through the API. So completely automated, executes all those tests and then returns results back to them. And then there's also some companies using it for the deploy function. Neptune Software and I just did a webinar recently where they actually use it to create the deliverable transport to their customers. They set up an amazing
oh,
pipeline, and it really saves them something that used to take 4 to 6 hours of a person's time, now takes about 40 minutes of robot time, right? So machines
yeah,
are cheaper than people.
yeah. That's awesome. So what comes out of the box in the instances that you get? Like if I'm a new Nuve customer and I just go in and I'm boom, here, give me my instance. What do I get inside there? Oh, sorry about that, guys. Little technology burp there. Nestor, I was just about to ask you, can you just real quick show our viewers the because there's you got the Fiori Launchpad all pre-set up inside the instance that you create there. And then you've also got the I think it comes preloaded with like ABAP get ready to go, right? Inside the instance that you provide.
That's exactly right. So as you saw, if I click on connect, I can simply launch the Fiori Launchpad, and it loads very quickly. And so I
Nice,
can
nice.
log in and use Fiori the way I normally would.
Hmm.
Um, I can also connect to the instance. This is S4HANA 2022. And as you mentioned, we're leveraging a lot of the automation that we built, that when we set up these systems, we can install any program we want. Typically, we have a few go-tos that we install. One of them is ABAP Git. And so that's also ready to go. And like I mentioned before, another thing that we can do is configure the certificates and any other requirements that are necessary to run specific programs. And
One of the
so
one of the first things I did when I saw my ABAP get ready to go was I downloaded the ABAP 2 UI5 library that's kind of catching fire these days
yeah,
on the internets, and it was, yeah, it was ready to go and it was running. It was everything was lined up and working as I expected. It was pretty cool.
yeah, exactly. And so that there's three tiers of the plans that we offer, and the developer plan uses the ABAP platform 1909 latest version. And what we do is, there's a short setup process, but it's really pretty straightforward. And then we let the automation take over and get everything all
Mhm.
set up for you so that you can host that system on Nuve. And
Mm.
as far as professional plan, that's a little bit more custom based on what typically that's working with SAP partners. So depending on their needs, we configure systems such as S4HANA. And then there's enterprise, right? So any SAP customers, we kind of help them automate a lot of their processes that are typically handled manually right now.
So let's divert the discussion to that kind of enterprise perspective and the sort of the platform DevOps perspective of all this stuff. Because like as like a developer nerd, I love the click and go. I've got my instance ready and going, and I don't have to worry about like making sure my laptop has enough RAM and that kind of stuff. But there's that, like I mentioned earlier, there's that second layer of the cake of like platform engineering and DevOps kind of stuff. So tell us more about where you are now, and maybe even a roadmap. I'm not sure if you have a roadmap published, but tell us about that layer of the cake.
Yeah, definitely. So we kind of started with these developer instances that, again, help increase your productivity, let you go in there and do whatever it is you need to do without, running into any object locks or someone, messing up your data. The
Yeah,
instances are really yours to do whatever you want with.
right.
And from that, we had a lot of lessons learned that we realized, oh, we can apply this to, platform engineering type
Hmm.
concepts where anything that has to happen in one system, we can kind of abstract that and apply it to any other system that you want, whether, again, some of those common topics are like networking, DNS configuration,
Right.
certificates, licenses.
Hmm.
And so that really opens the door to just being super efficient with our automation and allowing this self-service type of model where as a developer, sometimes you need a system and it's important, but if you're a company and you need a project landscape for some big S4HANA implementation or anything like that, we can help you spin that up in a matter of hours as opposed to days or sometimes weeks that
Yeah,
we're typically
yeah.
used to.
I mean, I can't tell you the number of times I've sat around and waited for, something that I could like go poke. And like as develop at least from my developer perspective, I gotta go poke something as fast as I can because my test case might like leak out of my head by the time I have to wait a day or two or a week, and I might forget what I was doing or whatever. It's just so nice to get to that world of doing that. And I think
Exactly.
this is at least from my perspective, one from the boring enterprise nerds perspective, to be perfectly upfront, this is a sponsored video from Nuve showing you this stuff. But what I love is that I literally use this. I use this myself. I've used it in a current project that I'm working on to try to figure out a particular weird thing that I didn't need my customers' data to use. I just needed like an ABAP platform to like look at the innards, right? It was perfect for that. It's been perfect to like prototype certain things that I don't need to have live forever. I just need to figure something out. For me, as somebody who wants to tinker, that developer plan is kind of in the perfect wheelhouse for me. And so I have used it and I legit like it. So from my perspective, all this stuff is really, really amazing and I love it. And I want to give my personal recommendation to people who are watching the video to go try this out for yourselves too. Um, Nestor, is there anything else that you want to plug or recommend or talk about in terms of Nuve or just whatever else is floating through your head these days?
No, I do. I think we've covered a lot of good stuff here.
Yeah,
Again, if developers or companies are interested in doing this on their own, it is by all means go ahead. It is a challenge.
it
We've been at
is.
this for a
It
couple of
is.
years now, and it is challenging to implement it and get it set up. Certainly possible, but again, leveraging those platform engineering concepts we're able to do it once and then replicate that to everyone else.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay. Well, from us on the Boring Enterprise Nerds, Nestor, thank you for coming in and showing the world. To viewers and listeners and watchers, thanks for watching this stuff. Go check it out. We'll put the promo code in the comments to go get some Nuve goodness for yourself. And we hope you enjoyed it. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thanks, Paul.